Hey everybody, Jessica Burrell here. Welcome to episode number 34 of Everyday Inspiring Women. I am crazy excited to have one of my dearest friends, Jenha Martin, on the show today. Hey Jenha. She's thrilled to be here, as you can tell. So she's like, oh my God, how do you talk me into these things? But I'm sorry and you're welcome all at the same time. So Jenna and I have had this, I feel like we've had this conversation multiple times, but we met, I would say probably it's been 12 years or so, 11 years since we've kind of gotten to know each other. And then we were saying like, how did we get so close over the past couple years? And neither of us really know. It's just like, you know what is power of social media though. I talk about this frequently enough, but I think social media is such a wonderful thing. Yes, it can be negative. It can be, down a really rabbit hole. But I think that if you can use it for the forces of good instead of evil, then you can have wonderful things happen, like amazing people really come into your life. So Jenna is one of those amazing people in my life. So thankful for you. Aw, I love you. As she says, going, how did we do this? How did we get here? So I would love for you, like, fill in any blanks, something I missed. Introduce yourself, who you are, and then feel free to just really jump right into your story and tell us more about you.
Okay. So I'm Jenha. Jessica and I have been connected through work we've been at the same employer for almost 19 years. And then
don't tell people that, then they're gonna know.
I know, do the math. Right. And I initially started reaching out to her because of an interest that I started to have with running. And Jessica, when I first met her, was very interested in running and spent a lot of time and a lot of energy in the running space. So as it came into my life, I started reaching out to her, and over the years, we've just grown closer and closer and spent more and more time with one another. So spent a lot of great time, and it kind of fits into my story, I guess, is because Jessica's kind of led me to help,
no, don't apologize. You're good.
To want to dig deeper and want to actually look at the choices that I make and the not playing small and not always selling myself short and looking at what do I really want. So a little bit about my story. I'm just going to share, the past year or so, because maybe the past 18 months. Over the past year, I have recently ended a 7-year relationship. I didn't know it was coming. Over the years, you recognize that things aren't exactly how you wanted them to be, and you wake up one day and you wonder how you got to this point. Because the you that you see and the life that you're living doesn't look like yours anymore. It doesn't feel like yours, and there's so much of who you are that's missing from your life. And while the person that I separated from is a wonderful person and was one of my best friends and is still a wonderful friend that I care about deeply, we were better off probably as friends. And over, especially the 5 years that we lived together, I continued to give pieces of me away in the name of building a family, building a harmonious home and whatever. And no one asked me to do those things. Those were things that I decided to do on my own. But they led me to being in a place where I didn't feel like me anymore. So that, in addition to that, in 2015, I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease, and I just couldn't seem to get better. I tried all these different things and all these different medications, and I just couldn't get better. And I didn't understand why. And then my relationship ended, and we continued to live together for 6 months. But when the relationship,
can I stop you? I'm sorry. See, the benefit / problem with me knowing this story in advance is I'll be like, wait a second. Can you, so you talk about your autoimmune disease for a minute for me, please. Can you tell me where you were a year ago?
A year ago today.
Essentially, a year ago at this time.
A year ago at this time, what started as a cold moved into my eyes and then attacked my joints. And a year ago right now, I was walking with a cane.
Yeah.
I spent the first 3 weeks of December walking with a cane, having to be driven to work and to school. I was going to school at the time as well. Having to have my coworkers walk me down the hall at work, fearful that I was going to fall. So I'm worlds away from that now. My relationship ended shortly thereafter, so early in the new year. And as I said, we continued to live together for 6 months. But once that relationship was done and we were deciding on what we were going to do to go our separate ways in an amicable way, I started to notice my health improve. And it was a strange thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Louise Hay. Louise Hay is you can heal your life, you can heal your body. And, her philosophy is that, psychosomatic health conditions, right? So what you're experiencing in life is really connected to your health and well-being. And, joints and knees specifically are about not being able to move forward. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
When we separated, a lot of the stuff that I was carrying with me, I was carrying the weight of never feeling like I was doing enough or being enough, even though I was running myself ragged, trying to make our home and our family happy. But I never felt like it was enough. And, that, unfortunately, that comes with resentment.
Yes.
And the weight of resentment, I feel like it eased because, yes, we were cohabitating and sharing a home still, but I didn't have all this weight on my shoulders about having to do everything on my own. All of a sudden, my partner, who became my roommate, he actually became more of a partner and was doing more around the house and made life so much easier for me. And it helped, it allowed me and my health to improve. And, by April, which is just 4 short months later, I ran the first race that I'd run in 4 years.
Yeah.
And I did it in about 7 minutes less than what I had predicted. I mean, that was a huge win for me. And I went on, this year to, do a lot of physical things, including I did a Tough Mudder in September with some girlfriends. And, it's just been incredible how much my health has improved over the past year. So I just like to say, like, I can't help but deny that connection that Louise Hay talks about between, your health and what you're carrying as far as, how things that you're carrying in life show up in your health.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you chose that story. So we were chatting before we started and she's like, I don't know what story to tell. We all have so many, and I'm very grateful you picked that one because I think it's so powerful. And, from the sidelines, watching all of that unfold has been transformational for me as well, because it just continues to reinforce how much our life and what we're doing affects us physically. And it was interesting because love is probably not the right word, but you were talking about, in that family dynamic that you had, you were doing everything. You were sacrificing so much of yourself for the sake of your family and your blended family and your relationship and your career potentially. And nobody asked you, you just did it. Would you say that it feels at times society does expect certain things like that from women in particular, or is that something else that you maybe was, yes, it was your decision, but there are influencers, and maybe it was not necessarily your family, but there's other influencers, would you say?
Definitely it wasn't anyone in the home who put that on me. Part of it, obviously, you can't help but be influenced by your upbringing. My mom worked full time, but still did everything for my stepfather. So seeing that modeled through the years, but also I saw something on Facebook or Instagram or lately how it said the world expects a working mother to
work as if she doesn't have kids and have a family as if she doesn't work.
Exactly.
We must have the same friends.
True. Yeah, we must. But it's so true. Like, that resonated with me because society does put a lot of weight on women and to live up to these standards that are next to impossible. So how can you feel like enough when those are the expectations that are put on you or that people have? And, it's so hard,
yes,
it's so hard to try to measure up to that. So not that anyone ever specifically asked me to do these things or give myself away. It just was what I felt like I was called, what I needed to do in order to build the home and the family that I wanted us to be.
Do you feel more like yourself now, a year later?
I feel more like myself, but I don't think I've completely discovered who myself is.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time, 7 years is a lot of time, and a lot of growth happens during those years. And I during that time, I'm like, I'm a pretty self-aware person, and I was, but I was also aware that I was denying a lot of things for myself and about myself, a lot of truth.
That's so powerful because I think we had this conversation. Hopefully I can share it. I say as I'm sharing it, but
right.
You had said to me at one point, approximately like just before, your autoimmune disease really took over and you're walking with a cane, but you shared after, like in the springtime, how when we met in the fall, and we were talking about our desires and digging deep into ourselves, that you didn't even want to participate because you weren't ready to face what you knew to be the truth. I'm paraphrasing, but would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we were at your retreat and, I had a different role there.
Yeah.
So I actually used that as an excuse to escape some of the conversations that I wasn't ready to have and the work that I wasn't ready to do. I knew it was there. It was in my head. I avoided being alone at all costs for a long period of time because I didn't want to think about those things that were sitting just under the surface. So I was self-aware. I was aware that I wasn't ready, I guess is how we'll say it.
That's powerful too, because I think a lot of women, and I'm generalizing, yes, and myself included, don't get me wrong, I've dealt with this as well. So many women say, I don't know what I want. And the truth truly is that they do know, and they're just not ready to make it happen. Or it's, there's still some fear or, getting, what am I trying to say? We get in our own way to say, this is actually what I want, but I'm not ready to do it. Or something we're standing in our own way essentially. But sometimes the universe intervenes and makes
Mm-hmm.
those things happen for us anyway.
Exactly. Because, I mean, some things are really hard and really scary. And
Yes.
I don't ever, you know, it was not easy to do, especially because you care deeply about this person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to choose to live your life separately is difficult. And there's a lot of stress that's involved in separating things and homes and deciding where people are going to live and all those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand why people would choose not to go through that. But at the same time, sometimes you have to do those things and you don't realize what's on the other side of making that decision. Yes, it's hard and it's scary and it can be horrible, but on the other side, there's some awesome things that have happened. Like 2018's been my worst year and my best year at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I want to keep talking about that, but I have so many questions for you. So I know that self-care for you has been a process in which has helped you get through this past year. Can you talk more about your own self-care and like things you do or what's really important to you for you to fill your own cup?
So that's one thing I think I'm really good at. I'm really good at self-care.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time, I actually post a lot about self-care Sundays. And, Sundays are my day where I try not to plan too many things. And if I am planning something, it's something that is going to be fun or, fill my cup. So the kind of things that I end up doing on my Sundays, and some people might think of them as being a chore, but for me, it's how I show myself love. And it's things like meal planning and meal prepping. They're self-care to me because they set me up for a successful week and they help take the pressure and stress off me later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
I like to spend time outdoors, in the sunshine. I have a dog, and so he's out. We walk 4 to 5 kilometers every day, but being outside just helps to fill my soul. And when the weather's nice, I like to be out on the trails, whether that's walking, riding my bike, running when my body cooperates. And then a lot of times I end my Sunday with a bath and listening to an audiobook. And it's just a low-key day. I usually don't plan too much, but if I do plan something, like tomorrow I have a shopping date with my daughter in the US. But if I plan something, it's something like that, something that's fun, that's going to excite me. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel guilty about spending the day doing those sorts of things?
I don't. I did when I had 6 of us to take care of.
Yeah.
I don't now because I recognize how important it is for me. So for me, I can't give to everyone else if I have nothing in me to give. And so that's my time to replenish, and that's my time to fill my own cup so that I have something to give to others. So I can't feel guilty about that because if I don't have it in me, I can't give it to others. So I would feel more guilty about not giving myself that time and not filling my own cup because then I can't provide. I can't be what others need me to be.
Yeah. So true. I've been talking to a lot of people like on the interview series. Like I have standard questions I liked. It just kind of comes out in conversation, but something new that we're talking about is community, because I realize like the more I'm doing this, like I just have a passion for it. And I am curious, because you mentioned, you had friends helping you. You did a Tough Mudder with some friends. So that feels like community to me, whether it's the people you work with or outside of work. So what does community mean for you? And like, what do you do to ensure that you're cultivating that in your life?
So community means to me is who I choose to surround myself with. And I choose to surround myself with exceptional women. I am so blessed to have several communities of women in my life that fit that mold of exceptional women. That's the only mold that they can fit in, because they're all, interesting and inspiring in their own ways. And, I live in one part of the province, and yet I have this other community in another part of the province, which is just 3 hours away. And I love going there. And I love being surrounded by these people. But then when I'm at home and at work, like, I still have another community there, and I'm doing my yoga teacher training, and that's yet another community of women, and we're like-minded. And, I feel inspired by them and what they bring to the table every day. So, that to me is what community is about.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I agree. And it's like looking around, seeing that inspiration around you. And it also helps give you permission, right? So sometimes when you see other people doing things that inspire you, you think, well, maybe I could do something like that too. Or maybe how can I inspire people?
Absolutely. So Jim Rohn says that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if I'm going to be the average of the 5 people I spend the most time with, those 5 people are going to be amazing people.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be anything less than exceptional. So
yeah,
I'm lucky to have more than 5 though.
Yeah, like exactly. That's awesome. I love that quote. And it's so funny. I'm going off on a small tangent here, but growing up, and my mom would be like, oh, this person's bad news or this and that, like they're influencing you or you're starting to behave like them. And I would say, like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm my own person. I can totally, they are not influencing me. But, as I got wiser, well, a little bit, not too much, but it's like, I believe that's so, like, my mom was onto something there, because I live by that and going like, who am I bringing in? And that's kind of how this series got started, because someone said to me, you have awesome friends. And I'm like, yeah, not for nothing, because it's like, I, work on relationships with people in my life so that I can grow and we can learn from each other. So I guess it's kind of selfish, but I don't care. You touched very, like, a little bit on your yoga teacher training. So I'm curious, I don't want to put words in your mouth either, but like, what's coming up for you right now? So maybe I am, but, what are you up to? So we talked about this past year, like, and how much you've grown, and just the worst, best year and all the lessons that you've learned. And so now what? So you just had this incredible year, and I've been so grateful to be a part of it and to witness the transformation in you, which has been nothing short of astounding. And so where do you go from here, or what themes are coming up for you over the next little bit? Maybe that's too much.
So we've talked about, I always have like a visceral reaction to when I say it, but the law of attraction.
Because you don't believe it.
Well, but it's, when you put things out there, I met someone back in March, and the first time I met them, somehow it slipped out of my mouth that one day I wanted to be a yoga teacher. And yes, it's been in there for a really long time, but I never had actually said it out loud to anyone. So when I said it, I was like, why did I say that? Where did it come from?
Who said that?
But once it was out there, right? Who was that? But once it was out there, it got louder. Like, this is something you should do. This is something you should consider. But then the other part of you that says, well, who do you think you are? You're not a yoga teacher. You don't look like a yoga teacher, came in, and, it was this battle back and forth. And then in July, I went to an event that Jessica ran in Essex County, and it was a yoga with Diane Bondi, who is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it was unlike any other yoga class I had ever taken. And, you know, some of the cues that she gave, I had never heard another yoga teacher say. Mm-hmm. And they changed my life. That day changed my life because I sat there and I watched this beautiful woman talk and say things that I had never heard a yoga teacher say before. And, you know, give you permission for your body being the way it is and for it to having its limitations and to be able to work with those. And I'm like, yes, I have to do this. So this that quiet voice that was telling me to do it got louder and louder, and it drowned out that other voice saying that I couldn't.
I love that.
And so I started researching yoga teacher training, and I would have loved to have done my training with Diane, but the distance makes that next to impossible.
Yeah.
So I found a teacher locally who actually has some connections to Diane and had done at I don't know what it's called. It's in Toronto, this yoga event that happens every year. Had done it with her. And, you know, I sat and I talked to her and I'm like, she kind of comes from the same place where yoga can be for everybody and it should be for everybody.
Yeah.
Even if you have accessibility issues, you know, it's to help you. It can enhance so many people's lives in so many ways. And so I knew that Tracy was the right teacher for me to take my training with. And I started that in September. So I'm just kind of, you know, not even halfway through yet. But taking this training has changed my perception on yoga even more. Like I've loved it. I've been doing yoga since I was 15 years old. I didn't take my first class until 2011. Believe it or not, that's crazy. But but I love it even more now. Yeah. Like if that's possible, I love it even more. And I'm so excited about bringing it to other people who don't think they belong in a yoga studio or who don't think that their body is meant to do yoga or who are intimidated to go to a class because they don't already know what the poses are or how to do them. So
yeah,
that's what's my focus right now.
But I feel like I hear that a lot. Well, I can't do yoga because I'm fill in the blank, just about any reasoning, you know, and I think that's, you know, part of Diane's message and your message is, but yes, you can. And here's why. And let me show you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not just about, you know, it's not what you see on the cover of Yoga Journal.
Right.
You know, it's not what you see when you search yoga on Pinterest or on Google. Those are not, it's not limited to those people and those bodies and those hyper flexible, you know, people. Yeah. It's for everybody. So
awesome. I mean, yeah, I love watching that you go through this process as well, because I think that it's just, yeah, it's fun to watch. I like watching this. It's been a really great year for me.
I'm glad I could keep you entertained.
Absolutely. Without a question. Funny though, I want to make a little connection that it's, you know, it's that story that you were telling yourself and you're like, you knew, what do you want? You knew the answer. And it was still that part going, oh no, like, of looking at it and going, yes, this is like taking that action. So, you know, what did you want? You knew this is what you wanted. You've known for so long. And I think, you know, maybe was it finally giving yourself permission to want what you actually wanted?
Probably. And probably, you know, that seeing a different side of it to be like, yeah, I don't have to look like that.
Yeah. Yes. It's powerful when people
can have sorry.
No, go.
I was just going to say that you can have credibility and you can teach people things and you can actually resonate with a different group of people and bring something to them that they never even knew that they needed.
Yeah. So good. So many nuggets in there. And I think that by you sharing your story, which is why I do this, but it's like when you share your story like that, women are going to hear it and look at use you as a mirror to look at their own life. Yeah. And start taking some action and going, what do I want? I don't know. Actually, I do know. I do know what that is. And scary as.
Yeah, don't be afraid to want it, and don't be afraid to take action on it.
Yeah. Words, like, truly live by those words.
Mm-hmm.
So Diane was an influence on you. Do you have any other, you and I talk about books a lot. So it's like, what are you reading? What are you reading? And like, it's this back and forth, and we need to like one audible library between the two of us. It just really just came into my mind. Yeah.
Right. That would be the most complete personal development library ever.
All you ever need in your life right there.
Right.
So I'm giving you a horrific task, except I think I know the answer, but a horrific task to say, if you could narrow your Audible library down to one book, like, do you have one book that means like, that's it? That's your number one all-time favorite?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really hard time usually picking favorites, but 100% hands down, I love Glennon Doyle, and the book Love Warrior changed my life.
I have goosebumps everywhere.
So, and I don't, I always get it. I'm like, yeah, whatever, something changed your life. Yeah, a book changed your life, or a movie changed your life, or whatever changed your life. And people throw that term around so loosely, but this one truly changed my life. Every time I listen to it, and I've listened to it multiple times on Audible, I get different things from it, and I'm bookmarking different things. And I've started this new, because it dates the bookmark. So I started this new thing where I'm looking back and seeing where my bookmarks are at certain times. And you know what? There's a lot of them that are in the exact same spot, regardless of when I listen to it. But there's different things that have resonated with me each time I've listened to the book. But I'm always picking something else up out of it.
It is a powerful book.
Totally is.
Yeah.
And it supports it's her story. Right? And it supports the whole, your story can change other people's lives.
Yes. And you're sharing yours, and I only had to ask you one time to do this. So.
Right.
Or more than once, maybe.
Maybe more than once.
So is there, okay, now I'm going to push you even harder, because like, that's what I do. But like, what part of the book would you, like, yes, you've got 100 books marked. Is there anything that you're like, this is a motto from this, that I have from this book that I think I live by or work to live by?
So I'm guessing that you'll probably even be able to guess this one, but she talks about choosing not to numb herself against the hot loneliness. And, it's that feeling that you bump up against, and a lot of people just either drink or do drugs or, use some food or some other unhealthy behavior to deal with, rather than actually working through that uncomfortable feeling, because that feeling sucks.
Yes.
And I was classic. I mean, I kept myself so busy that I would never have to face it. And now I've come to enjoy spending some time by myself. That used to be my biggest fear, but because I've taken the action, and actually I'm not perfect anywhere near perfect at it, and I still use numbing techniques. But there's far more times now where I'm actually sitting with the hot loneliness, and I'm feeling those feelings, as hard as they are. And this year's been full of them. So it's been a huge growth opportunity for me to be able to, I keep being presented with all of these opportunities to work through.
So true.
Loneliness.
There's an endless supply of opportunities.
There has been this year, so.
For sure.
But I mean, I'm, at the end of this year, I made it. I wasn't sure I was going to make it through the first 90 days of the year, like mentally.
Yeah.
It was like, how can I get through this?
Yeah.
I mean, now here we are at the end of the year, and I look back and I'm like, wow, so many incredible things have happened, and I couldn't see it. I could never have imagined this time last year that all of these incredible things would have transpired in one short year.
Oh, that's powerful. Like, that's powerful because it's so true. It's especially true for you this year, but I think like in a general sense, like we don't do that often. We don't do that reflection where we sit and say, what did I do this year? And what did I accomplish? Or how did I get through things or had some hard times? What did I do with that? And being proud of yourself for everything that's happened. Yeah. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on and talking about your story. And thank you for sharing it with me all the time. I'm so lucky.
All the time. Like whether you want it or not.
No. Good point. No, like love it. Love it. So we didn't even get into this, but you are multi-passionate and you're an entrepreneur as well. So we work corporately together, but you have some passions on the side. And I really want people to connect with you to get to know Jenha better, because her love for food is unparalleled and she is incredibly talented. And I just saw her, I forget if it was on Instagram post or Facebook, where she made cakes for people, which I expect one in the mail, side note. And like, so tell us a little bit about that, and then how people can get in touch with you if they want to learn more, and pre-register for your yoga classes or something like that.
Yeah. So food is another one of my passions. That's why meal planning, meal prep, and that doesn't seem, if it's self-care for me, it doesn't seem like work or a chore. But I love that, and it's something that I'd actually plan to share with others in the new year. It's doing meal prepping, meal planning, budgeting for meals, all those sort of things, classes and workshops. So that's, one thing that is coming up for me in, oh my goodness, 2019 is just a month away. As well as doing some beginner workshops, just some foundation workshops. Nobody actually broke down poses for me when I first started going to yoga classes. So I really want to give that opportunity to some of those people who don't want to go into a studio. So I have a studio that's in my home. And it's just been painted and it's all ready to go. So I will be putting out and promoting those workshops in the next couple of weeks. For the new year. The yoga beginner workshops won't start until February, but meal planning, meal prep, those will be starting in January. And you can contact me through my Facebook page, which is My Granola Soul.
I'll post all of the links on this chat too. Keep going.
Okay. And it's my Instagram page as well. So it's cooking, it's health, it's wellness, and yoga for everyone.
Yeah. I'm thinking, like, as soon as you started talking about your home, and I know you've just redone the room for your yoga studio, and I'm like, Holy Wellness Center. I'm going to come there for a weekend, and we're going to, well, you can cook for me again, but still people can come and they can like do yoga and learn about yoga and then learn how to meal prep on a budget too. That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah. I know that's something you're so good at too. I'm excited for the next year. I can't wait to talk to you a year from now. And see, who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
I have an idea. So I'm hosting a women's conference next fall. So you can host a workshop about how to meal prep on a budget. I just threw it out there, so it's happening. So I want to talk about the law of attraction.
Well, somehow, I was going to say, somehow the things that you throw out there to me end up coming to be. So I guess I know what I'm doing next fall.
Done and done. So we'll talk about it next fall, how we got there. Jenha, I love you. Thank you so much for chatting. Yeah, and I can't wait. We'll chat soon.
Okay, awesome.
Bye.
Bye.